Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com, Bidamountlive.com, and P.O. Combs Asian Art. And this is our weekly video. But before I get started, I thought I'd share something with you. Many of you may know that we had a very big storm come through here in the middle of this past week, northeaster off the ocean. It was initially predicted to produce heavy rains and winds of up to 40 or 50 miles an hour. Didn't quite work out that way. We ended up with winds in excess of 100 miles an hour here, recorded on Cape Ann. And we had 30-foot waves over here to the, well, you can't see it, but to the right where the ocean is, coming in all night long. And in the middle of the night, this tree in our front yard went blowing down. It was a 120-year-old bean tree, tilapia tree, came down and created quite a mess, as you can see. And middle of the night, the Department of Public Works had to come out and clear the road because it actually blocked our little street completely. And this thing came down and made a horrendous crash. We lost other trees on the property as well. We lost one in the back that was actually twice as big as this one, but fortunately it crashed down and landed in our neighbor's yard. And this company will be coming back on Monday to remove the debris. But they had to come out immediately yesterday because when this tree fell, it landed on something, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this company is absolutely, Iron Tree is an absolutely great organization, great company, and they came out within a matter of hours. They were there. The storm was still almost just winding down, and they were already there clearing the property. And we just, my wife recorded these as the truck was there, lifting up the bits that were left over, and it went on and on. And if you're wondering why we recorded all of this, it's because it was what the tree landed on. Unfortunately, it landed on my wife's automobile. And we'll take a look at that. There it is in all its glory. And it's our house in the background there, and behind this tree here that's still standing, in this back there was an enormous tree that was 130 years old. There were two of them back there. The first one fell 5 years ago in another big storm, landed in our yard. I think some of you might recall it. And the second one, which was even bigger, blew over, and now we have all that daylight behind here. And as I said, the winds were coming in from the left, from the water, and it blew this tree down. My car was parked in front of it. It didn't get a scratch somehow. I don't know how that happened, but her car got pinned fairly nastily. What was amazing was that we have these very nice 18th century Italian marble lions in our front yard. They just got missed. And this flower pot didn't break, which is some sort of odd thing when you consider how windy it was. The lions are fine, which we were glad to see. This is another tree, a third tree in our yard that was very old. This is a big one too, split down the middle and torn apart. They're coming back to clean that up. We have a series of granite walls that run around our backyard, and they're going to have to go in, and they're bringing in a crane that will be able to reach from the street out in the road here. Hold on, it'll reach in from the street. Let's see, let's see here, right here. They're going to bring a crane in that has it goes 125 feet or 180 feet or something. They're going to have to reach around behind our house and pluck that tree out, and then go down into the back and get the other big tree out. So it's a bit of an operation. And of course, insurance doesn't pay for any of it, so it makes for an interesting week for us. That's okay. We'll get it done and get it cleaned up, and we're going to be having a replanting ceremony in the spring with the neighborhood kids, because they all love that bean tree. They climb around on it all the time, and a couple of kids were pretty upset that tree fell down, and so were we. We were going to miss it. It was a wonderful old friend, but we'll be getting a tree company to come out in April or May and replant something substantial to get things back to normal. But at any rate, that's what was happening around here the last few days, and we're expecting another storm on Saturday. Not quite as big, hopefully, but a bit of wind again, and any loose branches that were up will probably come down somewhere, and that's the way it goes. All right, well, anyway, that's the news that's reportable from around here today, and let's get on to the regular weekly video. So, here we are with the regular weekly video. I just thought I'd share that bit about the storm. I thought folks would find it interesting. It was quite an event. We've had them before. We'll have them again. So anyway, let's get on to what's been going on this week. A lot's been happening. The global member pages have had a lot of auctions close this week, as many of you saw, and we repopulated it very quickly. Again, a bunch of auctions popped up here in the United States, especially in the last 3 days. Some are happening in a month, some are happening very soon, and there's some very nice carpets on there. And it's coming back to life. And eBay this week picked up considerably, and we've also picked up a lot of items on the Bidamountlive site, which I was very happy to see. There's about 300 listings on there right now, and I'm going to run through some of them because we don't talk about it as much as we should, and that's my fault, and because I get onto so many different things. But the site is doing fine. A couple of people encountered issues with checkout, and they were able to contact the seller, and this is fine. This is not eBay, so they contacted the seller, did the deal with them, and that's that's fine. Actually, a number of the sellers have just sent me the 8% just to cover the expenses of the site. We have worked with our tech people this week. There were apparently some changes that happened simultaneously with how PayPal was handling checkouts and how the WooCommerce metrics were handling it, and there were some conflicts. So sales were sort of processing and then not finishing, and they fixed that. And the other thing I wanted you to know, too, is that we've added, for those of you who use Instagram, it's a great way to promote your items. So if you have an Instagram account, there's now an Instagram link set up on each listing. So if you open something up in the lower right-hand corner here, you'll see Instagram is there. We actually had to have this software written for us because there's no, off-the-shelf way to do that. Instagram is a little bit funny, but we thought that maybe this was a good way to get the word out. A lot of people use Instagram for images, so if you have Instagram followers on if you sell on our site, feel free to use it. I want you to promote yourselves on here as much as you can. We've been spending a lot of time. My son Brad, who works with me, he has been alt tagging images hours every day to get things onto Google, and they're starting to appear very nicely. And a number of things have been added. There's some pretty good deals on there right now. A couple of really nice things. One of them is this rose mandarin covered lidded box. These are fairly nice, and usually they don't turn up with their lids anymore. The lids have been broken and lost. Here's one that someone posted for you can return it if you're not happy with it, and $256, which is well within range. They sometimes bring 300 or 400 on eBay and other auctions. All right, and then this nice Yongchen to Qinlong period plate popped up for $290 is on there now. That's a very pretty plate. It's very pretty, nice colors, nice negative space where they didn't decorate, and then strong colors around the edges. Very attractive. And also, somebody put up this. If you're looking for books, this is China for the West by Ayers and Howard. It's that famous set of books. One of them just sold recently in an auction somewhere. It brought about the same price. But this is if you collect China trade stuff, this is a book you got to have. It's 2-volume set. Comes in its slipcase, $600, very reasonable. And this was something we put up this week. This was a very fine 19th century Chinese Duan stone that we bought that has a very nice frame. The frame appears to be Hongmu, and the workmanship on it is just excellent. It's a very, very lovely example. It's $8,000, which it seems expensive, but that's what they sell for, and they sell for even more, I guess, with auction. But we wanted to put that on the site because I think it's very attractive. It's a beautiful thing. And then on to this, a Kangxi dish, $200. It's got a couple of hairlines in it, but it's a very desirable pattern. And in perfect condition, these bring $500 to $700. So here's a chance to buy one that isn't perfect. It's got a couple of hairlines, but the enameling on it is very good still. There's no wear to the enamels, which I think is much more important. I don't mind a hairline if the decoration is all good. I'd rather have that than a perfect plate that has no hairlines and has worn artwork on it. I want to see the art. And this is a nice looking dish. Okay, and then over here, there's a very nice little Ming Longquan celadon dish that someone put up. This is a beautiful little chrysanthemum dish. Came out of apparently from a Canadian collection. Here's the back of it. Looks absolutely fine all the way through. Nice little early dish. and this is not late Ming. This is middle Ming. All right, so there's that kind of thing. So check out the Bidamount Live site. We're also going to be building out a box for it on the newsletter page. We have one there now, but we're going to be expanding it because I think that we're seeing a surge in listings, and I know we've had quite a few transactions. We're having a lot of little transactions happen, which is good. We've sold some things on there, and the people have been very happy, and it's moving in the direction that we want it to go. There's not going to be any fees raised or any of that business. It's going to stay exactly as it is, and just use the site, enjoy it, and communicate with the sellers. And we wanted to run sort of the way our forum runs: very friendly, very open. Have a conversation, get to know the sellers, and treat it like if you're a seller, treat it like your own website, and if you're a buyer, treat it like your own community. Okay. That's what we're shooting for, because I don't think there's a lot of that these days in the art world. I think everybody's sort of so competitive. Everybody should just get along. All right, now what's happened over at eBay this week? There's a couple of good buys. This, I think, was one of the, I talk about a bargain of the week once in a while, and this is a bargain of the week. This was a great silk. Very, very pretty on this very warm cocoa brown background, and a couple of minor little condition issues. But the needlework on this was absolutely outstanding. Beautiful needlework all over, with butterflies, bats, auspicious symbols, all kinds of stuff happening on here. There's so much activity on here: incense burners and Buddhist umbrellas and vases wrapped, and all kinds of things happening. Somebody picked this up for $360, and it's a big piece of silk. That was I think was an excellent. Given the price of silks these days, this was an excellent buy. Absolutely excellent. And then over to this, another one of these fabulously decorated 18th century Chinese export plates with faceted sides, minor roughness around the edges, but the artwork on it, again, artwork. We'll always look at the artwork. Beautifully drawn, beautifully proportioned, and nice outer border. A few little bumps here and there, but what a nice plate. It was about 13 inches long. It was good size, and somebody picked this up for $227. That was a great buy. That was a nice buy. It's a good-looking piece of porcelain. And then there was this. This was listed just as Chinese. It was actually, if people were paying attention, this was actually blue to hue, meant for the Vietnamese market, which makes it fairly desirable. Hold on a second. We have a. Okay, so sorry about that. It was a lunch order. My son was going to pick up sandwiches. Any rate, this is a nice blue to hue market example. They listed it as 18th century. It might be 18th. It could also be early 19th century. These can be tricky to date, but this was a nice one, and I think it sort of went under the wire. I think a lot of people saw it as Chinese, and it looked odd to them because they didn't mention that it was for the Vietnamese market. And someone picked it up for $458, which is I think a couple $100 under what they typically bring, because it just said 18th century Chinese bowl with mark. And those of you that know maybe would have spotted it, but blue to hue is one of those areas that's not widely known or understood. It was porcelain that was made in China for the Vietnamese market when Vietnam was sort of under the wing of China, and they did a lot of trade back and forth. So that's the history of those. It's sort of it's a very interesting history. There's a lot of information out there about it. Okay, now on to this, another silk. This was very, very pretty. Apricot, beautiful warm apricot ground with the mortals all over it, and an ascending mortal, Luan carrying the peach, riding on the back of a red-headed heron, and beautiful gardens and flowers and all this sort of thing. Just a lovely example, and nicely framed. I like the blue framing that they did for this to present it. It was very successful. And somebody paid $1,913 for this. It's got a little thread wear, and there was a fold crease in the middle, which actually a textile conservator could clean up pretty readily. Some people you can even iron these out with a towel, flip it over, put a towel on it so it doesn't get too hot, and then gently flatten it down with a little heat. But at any rate, that was a nice textile, and it was big. It's funny because in the picture it doesn't look that big. This doesn't look like a huge textile. It was actually 65 by 44 inches, so it was 3.5 feet by 5 feet in size. That was a big piece of silk. Nice looking silk. Always check the dimensions, because visually sometimes things, there's a panel that can look like this can also be just 10 by 18 inches. But this was a particularly large one, so it was a nice piece. And then over to this. The seller apparently didn't really know too much about it. He just said it was a nice looking tankard stein, and he said it had hearts on it. I'm not sure where the hearts were. I think he was just doing the best he could. Oh yeah, there's a little the roux scepter, the roux head on the thumb piece. Maybe he thought that was a heart, but innocent mistake. Innocent mistake. Nice flat bottom on this. This was a handsome little tankard. Had the feather up the handle like that. He did a great job photographing this. Took the care. Nice background, so the mug really stood out. You can see the colors. Looked good inside. And this was a good-looking tankard. Ended up selling for $519, which was very reasonable. It had that nice flared foot at the bottom. Give it support, make it nice and stable. That was a good-looking thing. This was from a seller in Fayetteville, New York. Top quality auctions. Maybe it's a consignment place. But anyway, he did fine with that. And then over to the pink bowl. I had a couple of inquiries about this bowl because it was a little bit different. It almost has the like a peach bloom glaze to it. It's more of a pink color than peach bloom, but pretty close. And the dating of it was a bit tricky because of the shape of the bowl, the glaze, the mark on the bottom wasn't all that legible. It was sort of scribbled on there. And usually when you see these, there are examples that were made during the early 19th century. And I suspect that's when this bowl was probably made, judging by its shape, the shape of the foot rim, this fairly noticeable orange peel on the surface, but irregular enough that it doesn't look like it's modern. It's just the way they did it. It may have been something they didn't do too many of. It's sort of it falls into the category of sort of a little oddball bowl. But they did do them. They experimented around, but it had a nice profile, nice and wide, very strong, strongly potted, nice high foot came out, sloped in this very nice curve, and then a rounded lip. The potter did a very nice job shaping this bowl. Very attractive, and it was of a decent size, as I recall. It was it was about 6 inches so in diameter, 5.5 inches in diameter. Nice looking, pretty bowl. Sold for $1,099, which I don't think is unreasonable because it's unusual. Unusual things, always be willing to pay for unusual things. And then this, the Qianlong period bowl, done like Kangxi Amari, but I think it's probably Qianlong, but done very, very close in the manner of Kangxi ware. But all this heavy famille rose and so forth looks to be more likely Qianlong. But nicely done, nicely turned bowl, nice foot on it. The foot is not too dissimilar from Kangxi foot rims, but it's a little bit thick, but good looking pot. I think all the way around there you can see where a little piece of it chipped off. You can see that very, very fine white paste that they used in the 18th century in this slightly bluish tone to the glaze, which they achieved just by adding tiny bits of cobalt to the glaze to give it a blue glow when it fired. But nicely done bowl. Ended up selling for $779, which I think was very reasonable. I think that was quite a reasonable price. It is 22 centimeters wide, so it was a little over 8 inches in diameter, but very attractive. And then onto this, the bronze, the immortal sitting on the stand, gilt bronze, nice looking one. We talked about this last week. I just thought it was very attractive. It was inscribed down the back. It looked fine to me. There are a lot of copies of it around, but when you look at the surface of this, the patina, the wear, the natural elements to it, all added up to it being, in my mind, okay. Here's the inscription, but a nice example on an elevated plinth. And it brought sort of in the range we talked about last week. We thought I think we said $1,800 to $2,500, somewhere in there, and it made the $2,550. A good looking piece. This was from Downsize out in Sarasota, Florida, and nice looking bronze, very attractive. And then on to this, the the 18th century famille rose dish with the pat sur pat decoration, this white enameling around the edge. You see this also on European plates, and very nicely assembled. This is all beautifully assembled, and the gilding on it was in fine condition. Often these plates, the gilding is all worn off and so forth. We've talked about the problem with gilding in the past with, certain cleaners will strip the gilding off ammonia. Windex, never use Windex on gilding. It'll strip your, if it's got ammonia, it'll strip away a lot of the gilding. And but this is beautiful, beautiful white pot sur pot, white on white decoration, and nice looking facial expressions and all that on the people. You always want to check the faces because everybody should have a different expression. That's the copies. The faces tend to be very repetitive. They all look the same. They look like ghosts. And in this case, they did a good job with the faces, and everybody's smiling, looking onward. Very happy scene, charming. And someone loved it, and they paid $910 for it, which is not outrageous at all. It's a desirable combination of elements and patterns in good condition and very nice gilding. So there you are. And then on to this, the little basket weave 18th century export bowl that we mentioned last week. Probably missing its cover, but it was a nice little piece of porcelain, finely worked, all this detail up in here. Nice quality cobalt, real true sapphire blue cobalt, very appealing to the eye. And then these have that flat unglazed bottom that you find on these. And it did fine. In the end, it brought pretty much what we thought it would bring. We said $300 to $400 or so. It brought $427. But good looking. I don't like to overestimate things. Sometimes I'm a little too soft on estimates, I think. But at any rate, it was pretty close. And nice looking piece of porcelain. And then hopping over here to this, Bill Neal had up some more of these wonderful mother of pearl gaming counters, and I wanted to mention that because he sent me some booklets. He's a very nice man. He's in England, and he's published. I hope you can see this. He's published a couple of nice pamphlets on gaming counters, their history, and they're not very thick, but they contain an amazing amount of information in them about the history and dating of gaming counters, how they were made, how difficult they were to be made. And when you study on them and understand how these were done, they are one of the greatest bargains on the Asian art market there is. They're, the best ones are absolute phenomenal. They are as good as very fine, micro miniatures. The workmanship on these pieces, fascinating. If you're the kind of person that enjoys stamps and coins and small art, small refined work, small engravings, you really should give mother of pearl gaming counters a look. They're absolutely fascinating. And Bill Neal is he's published by Shea Bill, and he has a website, and you can order these booklets. I think they're about $20. And as I said, they're fairly thin, but they have a lot of illustrations and a lot of really good information in them. And he was very kind to send them to me, and I've been meaning to want to talk about them a bit. But it's an area that is, I think, vastly underappreciated. There were a lot of gaming counters that are just sort of junky that were made. But there were some that were made in the 18th century and so forth that were absolutely superb, and they were incredibly expensive in their day. That's the thing that's really funny about them. They were very, very, very expensive to buy because they were incredibly labor intensive and fantastically fine work. And I can't recommend them enough as a collecting category. If you're looking for something interesting to learn about, you really need to check these out. And these things are small. They're like, they're about the size of a $50, and but absolutely fascinating. And they sell modestly. So you could, on a modest budget, you could build a very impressive collection. This one sold for $35, which is, it's absolute bargain. So check it out. WD Neal is his username on eBay. You can contact him if you want to get his booklet, and I'll try to find the link to his website and put it on here so you folks can reach out to him. All right, he's a good resource. He's a very nice man. I've communicated with him a number of times, and just a peach of a guy over in the UK. All right, now what's coming up? Let's see here. This is the listings. Like I said, a lot of activity this week, and you're going to see a lot of stuff on the newsletter page this week. Like the Bidamountlive site, we're picking up a lot of listings, and now the eBay side seems to be picking up some listings. And Juice 1499, Josh Chamberlain, has some stuff we're going to get to in just a minute. I wanted to mention that we all remember this Republic period pot that was up that got sold for $10,000 or $12,000. I think there's some dealers in China playing games by not paying for it, so it gets relisted. This guy waited a few weeks. He's put it back up. It's got 2 days to go. It's back up to $4,500. If and I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you're looking for a really fascinating piece of Republic porcelain, this is one of the best pieces I've seen in a long time. It needs restoration. It definitely needs restoration. You plan on spending some time getting it fixed up, but there it is. It's been chipped out at the top here. As you can see, it's got a break, but this crack can be fixed, and that can be filled and decorated with a good ceramicist, get it cleaned up. This is one of these pieces that's well worth saving. This is something that is just an absolutely great thing. It's beautifully done, and he's selling it as is. He's done a good job listing it. And let's see, I forget how tall this thing is. It's pretty good size, 11¼ inches tall. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good size. It's almost a foot tall. It's a good piece of porcelain, so you want to check that out. And if it was worth $12,500 a few weeks ago, it's still worth that. Sometimes pieces, when they get put back up, they don't bring as much. Though we did have a piece last week that actually brought 40% more on the second time around. So people don't pay and are forced to relisting at their own risk if they're planning on actually ever buying it. But another story there. All right, now Josh has up, Juice 1499, Josh Chamberlain has this up. This caught my eye. I thought this was absolutely wonderful. This is a beast of a platter, a beast of an 18th century export platter. Beautifully done, very big. It is, I think it's 21 inches wide? 21.5 inches wide. This is very rare. This is, in the export world, 15, 16-inch chargers are desirable. 21-inch chargers are extremely rare. They're extremely rare. Maybe 1 in 200 plates is that size. Maybe 1 in 300. I don't know where the hell he got it. But anyway, excuse my language. But it's a wonderful-looking plate. And also, he's got a whole bunch of other stuff up worth checking out. He's got this, a very nice Satsuma Koyo. It's up to $200. It should do pretty well. It's beautifully done. Nice food line on top. Looks to be in good shape. And then he has this up, this very handsome bottle vase. And on this one, I'm going to disagree with him on his dating. He thinks it's 19th century. And I took a good look at this. I don't think it is. I think it's late 18th century at least, maybe even older. This looks very nice to me. This does not look like a 19th century vase to me, but that's just my opinion. But I think it's a beautiful vase. I think a few people disagree with him on the dating because it's already up to $1,575. And as we've seen in recent weeks, these very nice red monochromes are bringing a lot of money. There's suddenly a big interest in them. There's a very fine Yuhu Chuping coming up at DeWitt's. I've had 6 inquiries about. Because it has an 8 to 1,200 or 800 to 1,000 pound estimate or something like this. It's going to bring a lot more than that. You could probably add a 0. All right, and then moving on to what else you got? You got this. This is one of the prettiest little 18th century Blanc de Chine cups I've seen in a while. This is just superbly potted. Beautiful work on it. Creamy, creamy, creamy glaze. Nice little bit of a wave to the rim here. Just very attractive. Nice looking piece of Blanc de Chine. If you're a Blanc de Chine buyer, you want to check this out. All right, and it's up to $305. It'll double that by the end, but it's a piece worth chasing. This is a nice piece. And Josh also got this 14.5-inch Famille Rose Mandarin Charger. Looks to be in excellent condition all the way around. Vibrant colors. Look at that, this blue up here around the top with the serpents. Just beautifully done in this nice key fret border running around. If you like 1840s Rose Mandarin, this is something worth looking at. A beautiful example. It's up to $242. Expect it to probably double or triple that, but nice looking piece of porcelain. Could even bring more. All right, and then on to this, if you're a Japanese Arita buyer, this is really something. This is a spectacular piece of Arita. It's done like Kutani almost. If some people look at it and they say, oh, it looks like Kutani. It's not, it's actually Arita, but it's really finely worked with all these silk balls all over it in different patterns and different textile patterns. And then you have these big ones with phoenixes on them. Very attractive, nice big plate, great color, gilding all through here. All this is gilding, and let's see, it's up to $326, but it was a big plate. How big is this thing? It's like 22 inches in diameter. It's a monster. They made a lot of Arita platters, big platters. We've all seen them, the big chargers. But this much detail really is excellent. And don't be afraid to spend $600 or $800 on it anyway. All right, and then over here is this nice little Kangxi cobalt ground square-handled teapot. It used to have a lot of gilding on it, but I love the blue enamel on this. It's very, very pretty. It's really, really pretty little teapot. Nice looking foot rim on it. Looks absolutely fine. And it's up to $1,103. Expect it to get up to probably around $2,500. But Bamboon has this. He has a good track record selling. He's over in the UK. He's a good dealer. He knows what he's doing. And this is an unusual teapot. If you go and look and find it, you're going to have a hard time finding one in this color combination, which could help it. Sometimes oddball colors can hurt things, though, because people say, well, I can't find a comparable to it, so I'm not sure if it's real. So you have to look at other aspects to verify its age. And on this one, check out the color, the foot rim, the construction of the handle, the shape of the spout. That wonderful spout is beautifully shaped. And all the way through, and that nice lid with this big fat finial on top of it with a white edge around the blue. Just a good example. And it'll get up there. And then on to this. This is a seller. This is Athleta over in Cambridge, Massachusetts here. I don't think I've ever met the man. He's been there for years. He gets nice things. He knows what he's doing. And this is a Hongxi blue and white ewer, in case you were wondering. It is not a copy. This is not some knockoff of a Ming pot. This is Hongxi. All right, it's had a restoration, I guess, to the handle, which is pretty common on these. According to the listing, he bought it at Leslie Hindman's, which is probably true. They get into these estates. But this is a good-looking old pot. There's the bottom of it. Looks absolutely fine. Nice-looking base on that, slightly concave. You have that very, very pretty orangey glowed, hand-trimmed foot rim that you see on these old pieces, 15th century porcelain. But nicely done. There's been some repair here, but these ewers are based on Islamic metal forms from the Middle East, and they were brought to China a bit earlier, and they began making porcelains in those shapes, and continued right into the 1400s when this was made. So if you want to own a legit old piece, this is a pretty good one. This isn't bad at all. It's missing its cover, but who cares? It's a pretty pot. And it's up to $417. It closes on Tuesday. It'll be in the newsletter this week. But if you like to own, you see Hongxi plates fairly often, often with a peacock in the middle of it and all those, with a lot of swirls and whatnot. And they typically bring $1,000, $800 to $1,000. I think this ewer is much rarer. Take a little bit into account for the repair to the handle, but this is 10 times rarer than the plates. So you got to keep that in mind always. And I don't think I've seen one of these on eBay, I think for about probably 5 or 6 years. And then on to this. This closes in a couple of days on Sundays. This very, very nice military rank badge, second rank badge. It's beautiful condition, beautiful colors, very, very powerfully done. With the lion and the tiger on top, and the feathers and the sun coming up and all that nicely, and a nice old frame too. I love the old frames. And here's a picture of the back. This looks like it was repapered about 1935, and it's an old frame. I would remove that and put better paper on to seal it up a little bit. But at any rate, it's up to $2,000. Expect it to go up another $1,000 or $2,000. But if you're a rank badge buyer, this is a pretty rare bird. Military rank badges are much less common than regular civilian badges. They don't turn up very often. They were often destroyed and lost. So this is a nice catch. All right, and that about covers it for the week. There's been a lot going on. The market seems to be picking up here and there. Things are strong. Don't forget, there's those good sales coming up over at Bonham's in a few days. There's some nice things also, I think, that are turned up this week at Freeman's. Has got some good China trade stuff coming. And I think Doyle's had a couple of things. So check out the global member pages. We'll be updating that again tomorrow morning. As always, we do the global pages, the subscriber pages twice a week fully. And we cleaned out a lot of sales this week, and we've added back a whole bunch. So check it out. And have a wonderful weekend. Subscribe here on YouTube if you enjoy these. And I will see you all next week. Okay. We would have done another video this week, but the storm sort of messed things up rather badly for us, unfortunately. But nobody was hurt. So, you know, the dogs thought it was very exciting, all that activity outside. They were safe and happy hiding under the dining table. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.